Talk more about this with us this morning. I'm joined by former ambassador to Ukraine, Ambassador Bill Taylor. He's also the vice president at the U.S. Institute of Peace. Ambassador, as always, thank you. You have said recently Ukrainians are strong. I think no one doubts that at this point. But you've also said they're getting ready to break through the stalemate. Given this most recent horrific attack, do you think that is still the case?
I do, Marni. I think that the preparations are ongoing. Their military, the Ukrainian military, is making these preparations with new units, with new equipment that are coming from the United States, coming from other NATO nations. They're training on this new equipment. They're training in Germany. They're training in Poland, training in the western part of Ukraine. They've got as many as like 9 brigades that are doing this training, as many as 18 brigades that are prepared for this counteroffensive. We don't know when it's going to happen. They want to be sure they're ready. They want to be sure that they can succeed, and they will only go when they can succeed. But I do believe that they're making good preparations, and they have a prospect for success.
We don't know when it'll happen, but do we know where?
We don't know where, and we shouldn't. We've demonstrated that we can't keep secrets sometimes. So it's very important that the Ukrainians have the element of surprise. They will look for where the Russians are weak, and they may feint. They may start in one part of the line and go to another. They may probe. They will clearly probe to find where the Russians are weak or where the Russians are moving toward, and then attack other places. So short answer is no, we don't know where. They will decide. Marni, they've been very good. The Ukrainian generals have shown to be very good at exactly this kind of decision.
Another factor in this equation, a major headline this week, was the phone call between President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine and China's President Xi Jinping. Given Xi's ties to the Kremlin, how cautious should Ukraine be when it comes to interacting with China right now?
Very cautious, very cautious. You're exactly right. The Chinese have not been subtle about supporting the Russians. That said, the Chinese have put out a proposal, a peace proposal, that has at least 2 interesting aspects from the Ukrainian standpoint. One is the Chinese say that the territorial integrity of nations, including Ukraine, should be respected, and that the sovereignty of nations should be respected. And the Russians have clearly violated the territorial integrity and violated the sovereignty of Ukraine. So the Chinese might be interested in doing something along those lines. The second thing is the Chinese have said, as part of this peace proposal, don't even think about threatening nuclear weapons. And the Russians have violated that as well. So there's something to be interested in on the part of the Ukrainians. But by and large, the best thing that the Chinese can do is lean on the Russians to pull out of Ukraine.
Right, and Ukraine be very cautious in proceeding with China. We heard from the first-time ambassador from Brittany Greiner this week, the WNBA star who spent 10 months imprisoned in Russia. Let's hear what she had to say.
I would say to everyone that is wrongfully detained right now across the world, stay strong, keep fighting, don't give up, just keep waking up, find a little routine and stick to that routine and as best you can. I know that's what helped me, just finding little things, if it was just whatever it was, you know. Just keep pushing, because we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop fighting. We're not going to stop bringing awareness to everyone that's left behind right now.
And those who have been left behind, we know U.S. veteran Paul Whelan, journalist Evan Gorskovic. What do Greiner's comments mean for those cases? Does it put enough pressure on?
There is undoubtedly great pressure on the government, on our government, to try to rescue, bring those 2 back. The other thing that she said in those comments was she's not going again. She's not going to Russia, and that's the right answer. No one should be going to Russia at this point. We are trying to get those 2 back, and others that are wrongfully detained in other places, to pull them back in to the United States, and then no more people should go to Russia to subject themselves to that kind of abuse.
And in response to all of this and the detainments of these 2 Americans, the Biden administration, ambassador, has sanctioned Russia as well as Iran. What does that do?
It further isolates them, Marni. It further isolates them. It probably is more of a deterrent than pressure to release these two. But it does demonstrate to the world, it demonstrates to those people who are now sanctioned that they can't travel, that their assets are frozen. And so it does indicate that this is what happens when Russia further isolates itself from the international community.
Ambassador Bill Taylor, as always, appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Marni.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.